In the quiet mountain village of Lorne Hollow, night was gentle, soft enough to sleep inside, dark enough for fireflies to shimmer like drifting stars. But one winter evening, night didn't arrive. The sky stayed pale gray, refusing to dim. The moon trembled, shadows crawled backwards, birds circled in confusion, and 12-year-old Mira, sitting alone by her window, felt the world take a deep, frightened breath. You see, Mira was born with a strange gift. She could see threads of light and darkness hanging in the air like strings on a harp. Most days, she ignored them, but that night, those threads were snapping, one by one. Mira stepped outside as villagers panicked. Lanterns flickered, children cried, elders whispered old, dangerous tales, stories of the midnight thief, a creature said to swallow night itself. Then the sky tore open. A long, deep crack of pure silver split across the heavens, like someone had sliced open the world. And from that crack, a whisper crawled out. A whisper that called Mira's name. "Child, come, midnight is dying." And before she could move, a tall figure stepped from the broken sky, cloaked in starlight, eyes glowing like galaxies. He bowed. "I am Calum, keeper of night, and I need you." Mira didn't know whether to run or to breathe. The figure, Calum, keeper of night, stood tall and silent, his cloak shifting like it was made from storms and constellations. But his eyes held fear. "Why me?" Mira whispered. Calum lifted his hand, and a broken thread of darkness floated into view, flickering, weak, as though it were suffocating. "Because you can see these," he said softly, "and because you can weave them back." Mira's heart slammed painfully. She glanced at the disconnected threads in the air around them, fluttering like wounded birds. "I've never woven anything, not even real thread." "You've done it every time you wished someone safe," Calum replied. "Every time you soothed fear, each whisper of kindness, each hope, it wove a small piece of night back into balance." Mira swallowed. "Then why is the night breaking now?" Calum's face darkened. "Something has entered the sky, something that feeds on the darkness you take for granted." He stepped closer, voice dropping to a rumbling whisper. "The midnight thief is not a story, Mira. He is real, and he is tearing the night apart to build a world of endless day, a world where shadows cannot hide the things he's done." A chill rippled up Mira's spine. The midnight thief, the monster from bedtime tales, real, alive, hunting the night itself. "What do you need me to do?" she asked, gathering courage she didn't feel. Calum held out his hand. A small loom shimmered into existence, a hand-sized frame of silver branches strung with glowing threads of starlight. "This is the loom of midnight. You must mend the torn sky. Only you can." Mira took the loom. Warm, alive, the threads hummed softly, waiting. But Calum's expression turned grave. "Be warned, Mira. The midnight thief already knows about you. He fears those who can weave, and he does not intend to let you finish your work." The wind died. The world held its breath again, and far away, a laugh echoed across the sky. Cold, sharp, hungry. Mira tightened her grip on the loom. She had no choice now. She was the last weaver of the night. The night didn't wait. Before Mira could even breathe, the sky above her shivered, a long, jagged crack of pale light ripping through the darkness like a wound. Calum's expression hardened. It has begun. The torn sky flickered, leaking a strange burning glow. Not sunlight, not moonlight, something wrong. Mira's hand trembled as she lifted the loom of midnight. Threads rose from the ground, thin, shimmering, frightened, pulling toward her as if begging to be woven. "Focus," Calum urged. "Threads respond to emotion. Calm your heart, Mira." But how could she calm herself when the sky was breaking? She closed her eyes anyway. She pictured her mother's voice humming her to sleep, the scent of warm tea, the quiet moments she cherished. A pulse of warmth ran through her. When she opened her eyes, the threads glowed brighter. They twined around her fingers like gentle fireflies. She lifted the loom. One breath, one hope, one thread. The golden strand snapped into place, and as she pulled it through the tear, the crack in the sky hissed, shrinking just a little. A patch of night healed. Mira gasped, I can really do this." But Calum didn't smile. "Look." And Mira looked. Down the valley, where shadows thickened into shapes, where laughter slithered like oil, where two eyes gleamed, silver, sharp, wicked. The midnight thief stepped out of the darkness. Tall, thin, wrapped in a cloak stitched from stolen pieces of night, his smile was too wide, too bright. "Well, well," he purred, "the little weaver awakens." Mira's heart thundered. Calum stepped in front of her, wings of storm and night spraying wide. "You will not touch her." The thief chuckled softly. "I don't need to touch her, Keeper. I only need to break what she fixes." He raised his hand, and at all once the healed sky split open again, wider than before. The tear screamed with light. Mira stumbled forward, gripping the loom desperately. "No, stop!" The thief tilted his head. "Make me." The wind roared, the shadows crawled, the night trembled like a wounded beast. Mira steadied herself, terrified, shaking, but refusing to run. For the first time, she understood. This wasn't just about the night. It was about everyone who slept beneath it, and she would not let the thief steal their dreams. She lifted the loom. Threads swirled around her like a gathering storm, and the battle for the sky had begun. The sky screamed as the tear widened, spilling ribbons of burning, pale light across the valley. Mira clutched the loom of midnight so tightly her knuckles whitened. Calum stepped forward, wings spread, shadows curling protectively around him. The midnight thief smiled like someone who had already won. "You're trembling, little weaver," he said softly, "because the night obeys me now." He flicked his wrist. In an instant, the shadows on the ground rose like living claws and rushed toward Mira. Calum reacted first. His wings slammed downward, unleashing a burst of storm wind that shattered the first wave of shadow creatures. But they only reformed, slithering forward faster than before. "Calum!" Mira cried. "I'm fine," he growled, though his glowing veins dimmed, the fight draining him. He's feeding off the tear. As long as the sky bleeds, he grows stronger. Mira's heart hammered in her chest. She wasn't a fighter. She wasn't a hero. But she was the Weaver, and only she could stop the tear from giving the thief power. She lifted the loom again, but the moment she reached for a golden thread, the thief snapped his fingers, and every thread around her turned black, shriveling like burned caper. Mira staggered. "No, no, I need them." "You need nothing," the thief whispered. "You are nothing." A cold hand of shadow wrapped around her ankle and yanked her to the ground. Calum cried out, trying to reach her, but more shadows dragged him back. The thief walked toward Mira slowly, almost lazily, his cloak brushing the ground in ripples of pure darkness. "You stole the first dream ever dreamed," he murmured, crouching beside her. "I stole the last wish ever whispered. Do you really think I can't steal you, too?" Mira's breath hitched. Fear surged through her. But then something else stirred beneath the fear. A spark. A memory. Her mother's voice. "Threads respond to feeling, Mira, and the strongest feeling of all is love." Love. Warm, soft, steady. Not fear. Mira touched her heart. A tiny glow flickered inside her chest. The loom responded. A single golden thread, small, fragile, but alive, rose from the ground beneath her hand. The thief froze. "What?" The thread brightened. And then, phoom! Light exploded outward. The shadow holding her shattered. Talem broke free. The tear in the sky shrank, trembling as if resisting her. The thief stumbled back, hissing sharply. "You shouldn't have been able to do that." Mira stood, the golden thread burning hotter with every heartbeat. She was still shaking, still terrified, but she was no longer powerless. "You can steal dreams," she whispered, "but you can't steal what binds them." She raised the loom high. Threads swirled around her like a galaxy of light. Calum stepped beside her, his storm wings blazing brighter than before. The thief bared his teeth. "This isn't over, little Weaver." He vanished into a coil of shadows, but his voice lingered. "I'll return when the next tear opens." The sky fell silent. The valley grew still. Calum placed a hand on Mira's shoulder. "You didn't just mend the sky. You pushed back a darkness older than centuries." Mira let out a trembling breath. But in her heart, she knew. The thief was right. This wasn't over. Not even close. Dawn did not return the next morning. Instead, a dim twilight hung over the valley, a sky unsure whether it still belonged to light or darkness. Mira woke with the taste of the thief's words still lingering, like poison. "I'll return when the next tear opens." Calum stood watch nearby, wings wrapped protectively around him like a dark feathered cloak. His glowing veins had dimmed, but his eyes were sharp, alert, restless. "You didn't sleep," Mira murmured. "I don't need to," he replied, but she could hear the strain behind the strength. The tear in the sky was mended for now, but something was wrong. The loom of midnight hummed in her hands, soft but troubled, like it was remembering something or warning her. She ran her fingers across the golden thread she'd summoned last night. It pulsed. But then she noticed something she hadn't before. There were faint silver sparks embedded inside the gold. They looked like stars. "Calum," she whispered, "my thread, it wasn't just light. Something else came through." Calum stepped closer, examined the tiny sparks flickering inside the thread. His expression changed. Not fear, not confusion, recognition. "Mira, this isn't ordinary. This is a memory thread." "What does that mean?" "It means your light reached beyond the tear. It touched the place the thief draws his power from, the realm of forgotten dreams." She swallowed. "So I connected to his world?" "Not to his world," Calum shook his head slowly. "To something older, something he's afraid of." A cold wind blew through the valley. Mira's heart thudded. "What is he afraid of?" Calum's wings flared, as if bracing against an unseen presence. "The astral warden." Mira blinked. "Who is that?" "The guardian of vanished stars, the keeper of everything that was stolen or lost." He paused, voice dropping to a reverent whisper. "The only being the thief has never been able to defeat." Another wind swept across the valley, but this time the air vibrated. The thread in Mira's hand glowed brighter, the silver sparks forming shapes. A door, a staircase made of moonlight, a distant figure with a cloak of swirling constellations. The loom trembled. Then a soft voice, not Mira's, not Calum's, echoed inside her mind. "Follow the thread, child of light." Mira gasped and nearly dropped the loom. Calum caught her. "You heard it?" She nodded, breath shaking. "What was that?" "An invitation," Calum said, eyes wide. "To where?" He hesitated. "To the astral warm sleep, the place where the astral warden sleeps." The golden silver thread lifted from her hand like a living ribbon floating toward the sky. But instead of rising up, it pointed downward, toward the ancient forest at the edge of the valley, toward a path swallowed in mist. Mira stared. "It's leading us somewhere." Calum nodded. "If the astral warden is waking, the thief won't wait long. He'll strike before we reach him." Mira tightened her grip on the thread. "I don't care." Her voice steadied. "He wants fear from me. I'll give him the opposite." Calum smiled faintly. "That's why he'll lose." Together they stepped forward, into the mist, into the forest that breathed like a sleeping animal, following a thread that shimmered with forgotten starlight. And somewhere far away, in a realm between dreams and darkness, the midnight thief opened his eyes and hissed, "She found it!" And the shadows trembled. The mist thickened as Mira and Calum followed the shimmering thread deeper into the ancient forest. The trees grew taller here, so tall their branches knitted together, blocking the sky entirely. Even the air felt heavy, like the forest was holding its breath. The golden silver thread tugged gently in Mira's hand, guiding her forward. But every step seemed to echo with whispers. Soft, broken, frightened. Calum's wings curled protectively around her. "Stay close," he murmured. "I am," Mira replied, though her heart pounded. Then, without warning, The ground trembled. The mist coiled upward, forming dark shapes, shadows with hollow eyes. Calum stepped in front of her, wings flaring wide. "Shadeborn," he growled. "The thief sent them." Mira gripped the thread tighter. The loom vibrated in her arm. The Shadeborn advanced, hundreds of them, like an army of nightmares. "Mira," she whispered, "there are too many." "We don't fight them," he said calmly. He pointed to the thread. "We outrun them." The moment he spoke, the thread ignited. Whoosh! A beam of starlight shot forward, cutting a path straight through the forest. Mira didn't hesitate. She ran. Calum ran beside her, wings slicing through the shadows, trying to pull her back. The Shadeborn hissed, shrieked, lunged, but every time they touched the glowing thread, they dissolved like smoke in sunlight. The forest suddenly opened, and Mira skidded to a halt. They stood before a colossal crater filled with still, black water. The surface reflected no sky, no light, nothing, except the thread which dipped downward and disappeared beneath the water. "This is it," Calum whispered. "The entrance to the star tomb." Mira stared at the water. "We're going under?" "Yes. Only those touched by starlight can enter." She swallowed hard, but nodded. Before she could step forward, a voice boomed across the crater. Cold, cruel, too familiar. "You made it farther than I expected, Mira." The shadows parted like curtains, and the midnight thief emerged, not as a smoky blur, but in a fully realized form. Tall, draped in a cloak of shifting darkness, his face carved from the absence of light itself. Calum stepped in front of Mira, wings spread wide. "Stay behind me." But the thief only chuckled. "Oh, Calum, guardian of the broken, traitor of the fallen, your protection means nothing here." He lifted a hand. The Shadeborn surged around him like a tide. "But I am patient," he continued, smiling without a mouth, "and I will take what I came for." His eyes, two burning voids, turned to Mira. "The astral warden sleeps because I put him to sleep, and you, little light bearer, will not wake him." Mira's fear twisted, tightened, then snapped. "No," she said quietly, "I'm not waking him." She stepped forward, golden thread glowing in her fist. "I'm reminding him." The thief hissed. The water began to boil. The crater trembled violently. And then the black water exploded upward, spiraling into the sky in a towering column. At its center, rising like a celestial titan, eyes closed but glowing beneath the lids, cloak swirling with constellations, stood the astral warden. The thief staggered backward. "No, no, he was sealed! He was sealed!" Mira held up the golden thread. The silver sparks inside it burst outward like reborn stars, swirling around the warden. His eyes opened. Twin novas, ancient, limitless, awake. The warden's voice echoed through the forest, through Mira's bones, through the very air. "Who steals my sky?" The thief collapsed to his knees. Calum whispered, awestruck, "Mira, you didn't just wake him, you restored him." The warden turned his blazing gaze toward the thief. "Your reign ends here." The shadow shrieked, the thief screamed, and the sky, for the first time in countless ages, felt like it remembered its own light. The night over Elderwyn had never been so dark. The stars were shivering, the moon veiled as though it feared what lurked below. And there, in the heart of the city, standing on the cracked marble of the ruined observatory, Phelan and Aurelia faced the one truth they had both been running from. The covenant of hollow light had not been destroyed. It had been waiting. A pulse of white fire burst across the sky, silent, cold, unnatural, as Virel, the High Seer, descended the broken staircase. His eyes glowed like bleeding starlight. "You bring me the girl at last," he whispered, his voice like glass against stone. Aurelia stepped forward, trembling but unbroken. "I am not your prophecy," she said. "I am my own dawn." Virel smiled. "You are a key, nothing more." With a gesture, he summoned the astral binding, a swirling vortex of light that curled around Aurelia's wrists, pulling her toward the center of the shattered hall. Phelan lunged, but the force hurled him backwards, slamming into a fallen column. Aurelia screamed, the binding tightening like chains of frozen flame. And then the ground answered her. Golden cracks spidered beneath her feet. The air rippled. A wind rose from nowhere, circling her, lifting her hair like a flame refusing to die. "Aurelia!" Phelan shouted, fighting to stand. "Remember who you are!" Her eyes blazed. "I am the Starborn, but I choose what I burn for." The golden cracks erupted. A shockwave tore outward, blowing apart the binding, shattering the ritual circle, ripping Virel from his stance. He skidded across the marble, shocked. "This is impossible! No Starborn controls their awakening." Aurelia raised her calm. Light swirled into a sphere, small at first, then expanding, growing brighter, deeper, stronger, until the entire hall glowed like a captured sun. "Impossible?" she whispered. "Just mine." She unleashed it. The blast struck Virel full in the chest. The High Seer dissolved into dust and wind. The observatory grew silent, except for Aurelia's soft breaths. The stars above flickered, steadied, then glowed brighter than they had in years. Phelan limped toward her, his voice hoarse. "Aurelia, you did it!" She turned, exhaustion softening her features. "No," she murmured, "we did." He caught her as her knees gave way, holding her close as the first rays of morning slipped over the broken walls. The darkness had finally broken. The prophecy had ended, not by destiny, but by choice. And as dawn settled over Alderwyn, the world whispered a new beginning, theirs to shape, theirs to save, theirs to live together.